And then something happened. Something jumped into my watch list on a spontaneous Saturday night. Hey folks, today we're gonna have a bit of a walk and talk. It's not about the Swedish tank this time. Black Beauty may be being retired from farm duties, but we need to find a suitable replacement. So let's take the dog for a walk and have a chat. So we've been on the farm since February and we're slowly but surely getting a feel for what the seasons throw at it. We also visited the farm over the whole of last winter. So we know that there are an awful lot of places on the farm which you could get pretty stuck pretty quick. At the moment, we use the Volvo and that's our main road vehicle, or it's my road vehicle. And I cannot fault it. It's all-wheel drive, automatic, easy enough to get around, has decent enough traction, and the tyres on it, albeit that they're just all-weather tyres, they've got enough grip to get through the brook every day and back and forwards, you know, over there, and we're doing okay. But there's a few downsides. One is just general wear and tear. If I use and abuse that Volvo, it's going to cost, because it's got to have MOTs and, you know, it's got to be serviceable on a day-to-day basis. And also it's not really going to be that suitable all winter. Come on, it's on. She really didn't want to zap on that. That's a powerful one. So we've come to this realization that we've kind of been backed into a corner, that we're going to need to get a more suitable vehicle to just do the farm jobs. It's a fair list of requirements it needs to have on a fairly minuscule budget. Yes, we could walk it every or twice a day, but it's quite a trek over to where the pigs are, and when you're carrying feed and that's not going to happen. So yes, that is possible, and yes, we've got the tractor, but a cabless tractor in the middle of winter is not that much fun either. So in my view, in my eyes, there are three options, and I know in the recent videos when this kind of came up in topics in the comments, lots of people had lots of opinions, so that's kind of what this video is all about. One of those would be what we originally set out to do, which is to look at getting a UTV, which is, if you're not familiar with them, it's basically a golf buggy jacked up on bigger off-road wheels, and it's 4x4 and goes anywhere. So they are hop on, hop off, easy to drive. There's a few different flavors of them available, and they're really quite practical. I missed out on one. No, we didn't actually bid on it in the end. We did a bit of a video on it. There was a Kawasaki Mule for sale at a local sale, and it was too battered to risk it. I mean, they're smaller engines and it's done, I can't remember, a crazy amount of hours, and it just looked completely knackered. Unfortunately, they hold their value. There's, I guess, less of them on the market than other vehicles, and rarely do the quality ones drop below 4-5 grand, and especially if you want the rear seats, you know, they're expensive. Even second-hand ones can go well over 10,000–12,000 pounds, and for that, you know, you could buy a decent pickup. Anyway, we had to kind of park that idea. I still think it would be a great option for the farm, but not right now. It's just not feasible within the budget, and there are a few restrictions on it. It might not be as good off-road as some other vehicles, and the payload's not going to be quite as much. Anyway, that's one side. UTV is one option. A quad, a farm quad, is the next natural way of thinking. You know, that's what most farms do. It's a kind of go-to staple vehicle for a lot of farms. And I tell you what, getting in and around the small fields, hopping on and off for gates, rounding up sheep, nothing would beat it. Unfortunately, they are less suited to family life, and there are lots of occasions where we take friends, family, guests, visitors, the kids around the farm, and I just think that if we were to get a quad, we would still have to get another vehicle anyway. And unless you're towing a trailer, you know, yes, you can get lots of implements that you tow behind a quad, but most of those implements we've already got for the tractors. It's quite a big ground to cover with trailers on a daily basis. I'm not sure that the quad would be a suitable answer on its own. I'm not saying no to a quad, because if and when we increase numbers of the sheep and they're further away on the farm, I think it's a good option. But it doesn't solve everything right now. I think we do need a new gate though. But where does that leave us? Well, Black Beauty, the Swedish tank, aka the Volvo, has kind of ticked all the boxes. It's just simply its off-road capabilities that's kind of going to let it down over the winter. So I think we're moving towards getting a car, truck, 4x4 type vehicle. Something that will just live on the farm. It's either sawn, it's written off, it's damaged or whatever. And I think it could also be the most cost-effective option compared to a quad or a UTV, buggy, and trailers and all the other things that would come with that. Come on, Max. So what's the budget? Not much, to be honest. I think £2,000 maximum, including tyres. It's kind of all I'm wanting to throw at this. And that's based on the fact that I don't really want to damage the car any further. The Volvo, I'm emotionally attached to. It's just an absolute awesome vehicle. I spent £2,600 I think on it years ago, 5 years ago. We bought it because at that time Joe and I were fostering, so we had our kids plus more, and it was just been so practical. It's done just 180,000 miles. It's been all over the place, never let us down. MOTs all the time, no problem. It's been through snow, it's been, you know, all over the place. And I think for the value for money, nothing really can beat that for a family practical car. But like I say, don't want to trash it, and it's already got a few knocking sounds, I should say, from me using it off-road all the time. So what are the other options when it comes to cars and trucks? Well, a lot of you mentioned them in the last video. Suzuki Jimny, 4-tracks, Defenders, Discoveries, pickups, Hiluxes, all this sort of stuff. Now let's knock off a few of those because a lot of them carry a big price tag. Defender, that can go straight away. You know, would obviously tick the boxes, but expensive. Hilux, a lot of the pickups, they just never go below, I don't know, £3,000, because I think most of them just get exported and they just never seem to drop in much in price beyond that. Even some of the smaller 4x4 type vehicles, the Jimny and all that, they don't tend to go too low, and if they do, I'm still thinking that might be a bit small. Anyway, vehicles, this is the short list. It's either like an older Discovery, which you can, even if it's a 12-14 year old Discovery, they do drop in value quite a bit, but something tells me that that age or that mileage of Discovery could be expensive to maintain. Things like air suspension. Everyone I speak to with an older Discovery seems to have had to replace compressors and things like that before. So I'm not sure that I would want to risk that. Good girl. Good girl. So that left me with one vehicle, which I looked into quite a lot. That was the Freelander. Next door, I've got a Freelander. I use it all year round, all over the fields. And I was actually looking at the Freelander 2, because the Freelander 2, with a bit of a bump or a scrape, so it might be a Cat N, like a cosmetic damage write-off, or a slightly higher mileage Freelander 2. What it doesn't have in low range capabilities, it certainly makes up for in traction and all the modes. And I know the Land Rover Centre, not too far from here, swears by them. They use them for all their demos and courses and stuff like that. Well, they used to. So the Freelander 2 was my top runner. Started watching a bunch in auctions. I think every car I've ever bought has been through an auction some way or another. And so that's my immediate instinct to start looking at sales and auctions. And I was finding them between £1,200 and £2,000. Now, slight caveat with a Freelander, nearly all of those are going to need new tyres, off-road tyres, because most of them are just being used for doing the school run. That's a good thing in reality, because they probably haven't been used and abused too much, But anyway, new tyres would be, I don't know, £500 minimum. So I'd have to account for that, plus also getting it picked up or dropped off or collecting it myself. So it depends where it was, at what auction centre, what sales, whatever. So I was following 5, bid on 4, didn't get any of those. Again, quite a lot of overseas buyers. And then something happened. Something jumped into my watch list on a spontaneous Saturday night. And it wasn't a Freelander. And it was a pickup. And I thought I'd written off pickups. Well, it was a write-off actually. I thought I'd written off pickups as an option because they were too costly. Anyway, I found this pickup. Seemed quite a good option. Obviously didn't know how much it was going to go for. Spent a long Saturday night, early Sunday morning doing a deep dive on this particular model, make, what it was doing off-road and what people were using it for. Anyway, before I share any more, the reason for switching and the change of heart towards a pickup is because over that same weekend the fencing was going in, and I was talking to Rob, who was helping on the fencing, and worked out that we might be able to get some whey from the local cheesemakers. He actually collects it and works with them, collecting it on a flatbed with 3 IBCs. So if we were going to be getting whey for the pigs, we would need a way of transporting an IBC pretty much full around the farm, especially when the pigs are down there. So the fact that we could get a pickup bed and just forklift on a full IBC, whether that's for watering, for whey, for bulk feed, whatever it is, moving that around the farm, suddenly started ringing bells and ticking boxes. And I suddenly thought, well, maybe a Freelander wouldn't be that great. It might be easy, you know, jump in, jump out, drive around the fields, but as a workhorse, maybe a truck would be better. Now, a couple of things I hadn't mentioned about it. One, the biggest attraction for me was, well, 60,000 genuine miles. Well, that's pretty cool. You know, most of the other vehicles I was looking at were 100 and something odd. Condition was okay, apart from it was a write-off, and it was a structural write-off, and I've only got 10 pictures to judge it by. Obviously didn't see it in person, so a complete gamble. And if it was for a road vehicle, I wouldn't have been even contemplating it. But as a farm vehicle, I figured it was worth the punt. So Monday morning came, and brother was here helping with some tree work, and we're getting some stuff done. And then the auction started, or it came up as an alarm on my phone, and I got a little bit carried away. I think I was bidding against someone in Estonia, or I can't remember quite where it was, but you know, all the little flags pop up showing you where all these buyers are. Anyway, sold for 2,400, but it didn't meet the reserve. So I was kind of gutted, but kind of also quite happy, because I thought, oh well, I'll go back to the idea of a Freelander. And then I got this counter offer. That was, I don't know, £150 less. Their reserve was 2,750, and I thought, no, I've already gone over. I'll leave it. Slept on it. Woke up the next morning, and after another 2 unanswered counter offers from them, because I just had ignored them, they just accepted the 2,400. So I think it's probably an insurance company that sell them on bulk, so it wasn't quite like you're dealing with a punter or a seller as such. It was quite automated. So I was always intending to do this video as a way of asking you what you thought we needed for the farm for that budget. But I feel like we kind of touched on that in the last video, and a lot of people shared their advice. We've skipped ahead. We've made the decision. I got a call when I was on the cabin roof. I'm on the lane, your truck's here, and it's been delivered. I'm going to give you a very small tease cliffhanger outro here, and we'll have to wait till the next time. We'll go do a deep dive on what on earth I've bought. What I forgot to do is mention prices. A quad, a farm quad that might have seen a pretty battered, hard life. 15-year-old quad, maybe even older, still seem to fetch £2,500 to £3,000 sometimes. Yes, if it's well maintained, that might be fine, but it seems like a lot of money for something that's quite old with a smallish engine, which might not last too much longer. Same thing with the UTVs and the buggies. like I did mention earlier, they hold their value. They never, a decent one never drops below £5,000 really, especially the 5-seater. So maybe it is a case of look for a car or truck type vehicle, and for the same money as we could have got a farm quad, this is what we got. I hope you can join us in the next video where I can share what on earth I've bought. Thanks for watching. Remember, if you can, do it yourself, and we'll see you next time.